Now, say my name.
The Rolling Bad Podcast.
You're goddamn right.
Welcome to episode 6 of the Rolling Bad Podcast, coming to you from the desolate wastes of Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm your host, Elric Edge, and tonight joining me are these two peasants.
Bill Costello.
And James Tapia.
On tonight's episode, we're probably going to have all of our usual segments and some craziness because we don't actually have anything really super new to talk about. So stay tuned. The Realm of the New Dawn, where we're going to talk about the new stuff that's coming out for AOS and the whole GW range and some other things that we've heard about. So what's first on tap, Alric?
So, for Age of Sigmar, content-wise, we got the Beast Claw Raiders, which kind of old news at this point, but they are the newest release. I like them, as an army. They look pretty cool. I still haven't really delved into the book itself. I've just kind of listened to recaps that some other podcasts have done.
They are really beat face. I mean, they're cool.
Pretty aggressive army for sure. They definitely fit the bill for destruction. One of the things that I like is there's a formation in there that is Beastclaw Raiders plus some of the Gore-Gruntas. You can take Gore-Gruntas from the Iron Jaws and add them in, and it still counts as Beastclaw Raiders.
Yeah, I think the Sylvaneth have something like that.
Oh, yeah, with a unit of Stormcast?
Stormcast, yeah.
That's right. I really like how that is moving forward.
That's really cool.
I don't know if all of us are quite up to snuff on our 40K fluff, but do they have anything like that in 40K currently, where there's formations that incorporate multiple codices?
I don't know about different codexes, but I don't know of anybody that actually has a built-in, ally in a formation of any kind. But I'll bet you Kill Team is going to start breaking the ice on that. So
yeah, possibly.
So because that's a little bit of everybody.
Yeah. Right on. That's pretty much for Age of Sigmar, I think.
Yeah, there hasn't been. We're in a little bit of a lull right now. Kind of, I sort of semi-predicted it that after the General's Handbook dropped, they'd let everybody absorb all of this stuff. I think it's a good thing because there's that period of time where there was something coming out every week. You couldn't read quick enough to keep up,
Right. Well, I think that lull was there to give a little love to the 40K guys, and
sure,
they definitely got some love, man, with the Death Watch release. And now that Death Watch are an official standalone army with their own rules and own models, and
I'll tell you, that is wow. There is some. If you want to hear what to do with your kill team, listen to Paul Murphy's Forge the Narrative when he covers it. Wow.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to that episode yet, but
they're going to be fun. They're going to be fun for someone that wants to do that.
Yeah, the models look amazing.
Yeah,
the flyer. I think the flyer.
I'm getting
so
that
cool.
thing. Oh God, I'm getting that.
That thing looks pretty cool, and the fact that they. When I saw that there was like a Land Raider and a Rhino and stuff, it's the same kit just with doors, I'm assuming. Yeah, okay. So,
it doesn't look that different. So.
No, but it is cool that they got their own kind of unique spin to it.
Well, I did a video on unboxing Death Mask that I have to redo because I had a pretty bad audio issue that I have to address. I had the recorder in my pocket and there was a piece of paper in my pocket, so it was picking up the crinkling noise. So I'm reshooting the video on that, but the sprues for the Death Watch kill teams are, number one, they're gorgeous, and then the kill team upgrade sprues just take it over the top. The deep cut engraving on the pauldrons and wow, just brilliant.
Yeah, when stuff like that comes out, man, it keeps calling to me.
Well, as soon as they Sigmarize 40K, I'm back in.
Right.
So
I have to say, James, you were recording like a beta battle report that you wanted to put up on our...
Yeah, I think it's something I want to do moving forward. We'll see. I haven't got around to editing it, but we'll see how much work it is, and if I have enough time between that and painting and everything else.
Because you mentioned, was it Tabletop
Tactics?
Tabletop Tactics, which do battle report videos, really high quality videos, and I checked it out because you mentioned it to get an idea of what you wanted to do, and I have to say, after about 15 minutes of watching their battle reports, I legitimately wanted to play 40K. Like bad wanted to play 40K.
Yeah.
I was about to bust out the old orcs and ask if anybody wanted a game, and then I remembered that it's orcs and 40K, so not quite what I had in mind, but yeah, the Deathwatch look really good. That's it pretty much for like physical content that's come out since our last recording. Now, GW's social media sites have been blowing up with content.
My God.
They've been hyping their new The Warlord event, their first match play event. It's September 10th and 11th.
I think so.
Warhammer World. Yeah. And they are releasing... If you're not following Warhammer TV on Facebook, you definitely should, because every day there's content. Whether it's Duncan just showing quick little painting techniques for just really useful things like how to paint grot flesh or how to paint the ghouls.
And they have capes and you name it. And he's doing these direct to Facebook videos.
Yeah.
So you can't see it on their YouTube channel. I mean, they may end up putting it up on there, but...
they're not on the...
I haven't seen them on the YouTube.
No, I haven't seen anything on the YouTube either.
So yeah, they're doing the direct to Facebook videos, so you it pays to follow them. So
yeah, for anybody who hates Facebook, I understand, but just make an account and make it private, and then just follow all the Games Workshop stuff, and that's all your feed would be, and it'd be good times because their stuff is great.
Yeah,
the White Dwarf page showed a little bit of
a
little teaser of the new White Dwarf format, and it's all about a battle report. So that's awesome. We're going back to that that good stuff that used to be there.
Can I go on a rant?
About
all right. White Dwarf?
Oh boy.
So I'm one of the losers that not only bought every issue of the White Dwarf Weekly, but I also bought the nice binders that come for them.
Yep.
And I'm kind of, after having lived in Europe a few times, I like those binders. I like those spine binders. They keep magazines in good shape and everything. So yeah, I know I'm the goofy one. The problem was, I thought White Dwarf Weekly was, a thing. So I bought, thinking that they might not have them all the time, I bought like 3 sets of those binders. Well, they released 131 episodes, or issues of the magazine. Each binder holds 13 issues. So I have 10 binders full and 1 spare flippin' magazine just lying around.
Oh, man.
So that's my anti-GW rant. So that's why I think they're going bankrupt and, they're going to fall.
Right?
Yeah. Because they did that.
Yeah, I have 2 of the binders, and I tried desperately to keep up with the White Dwarf Weekly, and I couldn't do it. It was mostly because I just lost interest. To me, the White Dwarf Weekly just didn't really have a lot of content.
It didn't have the meat. It had the articles, but each article left you going, and then what?
Yeah, and it felt like it was really only important to buy them if they had rules.
Yeah.
And now that we have the app and stuff, you really don't need that kind of stuff. And then Visions just never really appealed to me. I think mostly because Visions always seemed to be so far behind the release, and it was like, here's pictures you've seen for the last month in a book that we're going to charge you for, but you've seen them for free already.
I don't mind Visions so much. I actually, number one, you have to understand it's a catalog, and it's a catalog you pay for. You get the joy of paying for their catalog, and it's their heavy metal showcase. I kind of like it because you see so many people who do such great work. And though in that one, what really bugs me is most of the time when they had like an Armies on Parade, they'd have one little caption about the guy painting the army.
Yeah.
This is where, why don't you have a full-blown interview with these people? So, you can get an idea what's in their head about how they did it. That drives me nuts. But I still like it because, I just flip through the pages and dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's changing the new White Dwarf. I remember Les mentioning that he got interviewed for the new White Dwarf, and he's going to be in issue one.
Nice.
So they're going to be doing some interviews like that. So that'd be cool.
Yeah. I do have to say it is cool that in Visions they started putting up people's armies,
other people's armies, just, not staff.
Look how great guys who get paid to do it all day can paint. Yeah. But yeah, the social media. If you're not following just follow all of it.
Yeah.
Really, there's a 40K page, an Age of Sigmar page, a White Dwarf page, Warhammer TV, Warhammer Forge World.
Yep.
I think that's all of them. Oh, and Black Library.
And Black Library
has their own as well. And they tend to share each other's things. And there's also a Warhammer World page, which is a pretty good one to follow.
And you can see the daily menu at Bugman's. So
nice. One of these days I'll have a brew at Bugman's.
Yep.
I think that's pretty much it for new content.
Anything
new
for the New Dawn stuff.
I'm looking around your room here and I don't see anything new. So.
Well, yeah, the latest new thing was the Death Mask, and then hopefully later on I'll get the Codex.
Oh yeah. So apparently Death Mask is limited.
I don't know if that's a limited edition or not.
I think that is a limited edition.
Wow.
I don't take that in stone, but I'm pretty sure it's limited because I've already seen the contents being sold individually on the GW site.
Interesting.
I think probably the best, I don't want to say the best thing, but the most limited or whatever thing in there is probably the new Eldrad model.
Yeah,
so
Eldrad.
Hopefully they put him out by himself for people to get a hold of instead of having to spend, $150?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have to put that Eldrad model out. It's so good.
Yeah, that was a second edition model that was still
kicking around.
Now, if they'd get to Dante.
Yes.
Or Mephiston. Or Brother Corbulo. Or I guess we could just keep saying Blood Angel characters.
Keep naming names. Yep. Paul Murphy will like you.
Yeah.
All right, so anything else for New Dawn? All right, let's close it out.
The Realm of Creation, where we're going to talk about what we've been up to in the hobby these past 2 weeks. What have you gentlemen been up to?
For me, not much. And you can see what I did. I primered the Shattered Dominion board set, and that was it for 2 weeks. I have great plans. I have all the paints laid out, so nice. Sooner or later they'll get done. But James?
Yeah, I've been up to some stuff. I put some pictures of Elric's Iron Jaws up on Instagram and Twitter. Did a test model of each. We did black and an orange one.
Yeah. So you decided you didn't want to finish my demons. I don't know why. There's only
I was actually
400 more models to go.
I was looking at the list that you had, and I was about halfway through.
Yeah. I told
I had painted most of the corn stuff except for the metal bloodletters, and I painted most of your Zinc stuff that you had already.
Yeah.
And Chad had already painted half your Nurgle stuff, so.
Yeah. So yeah, you offered to do the Iron Jaws instead, which is a much smaller model count army for now. And I gave you two ideas, like a darker blackish gray, and then I just said something bright and vibrant.
Not yellow.
Yeah, not yellow. I do like the yellow theme, but I'm a huge Imperial Fist fan. So if part of me wants to do an Imperial Fist army, so I didn't want to have two bright yellow armies. So, but the orange looks good. I think that's what I'm leaning towards, especially with the checker marks and all of that. So, looks pretty good.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad painting it as I thought. I know orange can be one of those colors that's really hard to paint on, but think it turned out pretty good. I only had to give 2 or 3 base coats of the color on there. So,
anything else you've been up to?
Just working, chug along on the Stormcast. Bought another Lord Celestant, the Lantern guy. Castellant, sorry. Yeah. Castellant. So I'm going to have 2 of those now.
Fun.
To buff my big unit of Drakos, because Death Stars aren't a thing.
Yeah.
Well, and you got to take out 20 brute boys. Nothing bitter here. Nothing bitter.
You know, it's all good. It's all good.
So I played a game later with Jules, and we can talk about that later. But I'm liking the double lantern since those stack and spells don't anymore. So that's pretty cool. So painting him up, and then I worked on some prosecutors. Like I said, I was going to add some chaff to my army. And ended up chopping off their arms and chopping off their hammers and adding some shields and magnetizing some lances on there, or javelins, since they're basically the same thing. Nice. And was able to convert some tridents with the extra Stormcast bits I had. I think they had like some miscellaneous swords or something I didn't put on the Dracoth riders, so use those to make some tridents, and landed up raising the champion of each unit about an inch. Used an old the Cauldron of Blood statue I had, cut him up, and kind of had his arm going out like at a 45-degree angle. Okay. So a ruined statue. Was able to raise them about an inch, and now they can kind of get pretty close together within that inch they're supposed to be.
Smashing their wings together.
Because before you'd have to have like one guy facing forward, one guy facing to the side, and the other guy facing back, and it just didn't look right.
Didn't look good. No.
It's like trying to get witch elves to rank up.
Yeah. or bloodletters, or pink horrors, or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Little labels A, B, C, D.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and even then, didn't always go back together the right way. So
yeah,
right on.
Just work on that. After I get that done, I'm probably gonna start on Liberators, working for my warrior formation, which I might take to LVO. We'll have to see.
Nice.
I still really want to give the Extremist chapter a go.
Which one does that do?
Well, the current list I kind of have.
Yeah.
I think it's got some legs.
So, what's the Brotherhood thing you're taking?
That's the one that Andrew took to Slavernakar where the whole army just teleports wherever you want to do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't obnoxious at all. Did you see? There's a tournament that Chris Haynes from Canhammer ran over this last weekend.
Yeah. What was it? Something.
Alliance?
No.
That was Curry's.
It was something Bloodbath. I know it was CCB.
Capital City.
Capital City. That's what it is.
Okay.
Capital City Bloodbath.
Right on. And I was Alex Gonzalez posted a bunch of pictures, and I noticed that I think his game 6 he played. Did you see the all foot Stormcast army?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That looked pretty intimidating to see. I think it was like 61 Stormcast models at 2,000 points on the table. So, and apparently it played pretty well. It was playing him at table 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Round 6. So
yeah.
Well, there's a lot to be said for there's the basic Liberator too. They're a pretty darn good regular troop choice.
Yeah, I know. Our guy Andrew was telling me today that he's got some crazy concoction cooked up for trying to make the Liberators an actual hitty unit by putting like a unit of 10, and then you sneak some Grand Hammers in there on the unit champ and whatnot, and then something to give them +1 to hit, and then if they fight something that has 5 or more wounds, they have that Laylo the Tyrant.
Yeah,
it's a bunch of like little situational bits to try to make Liberators good. But Liberators are a battle line unit, and they're really cheap. Probably one of the best units per point that's a battle line option in the game, I would think. They're super resilient. They got 2 wounds. They don't suck in combat. Most battle line most battle line units don't have rend anyways. Yeah. And they have 2 attacks each. Yeah. And again they can take the grand blades or the grand hammers and stuff.
Give you a little hitty power.
Yeah. So. They're pretty good at 5 for 100, so.
Yeah.
So for my hobby, I got you to paint my iron jaws. That's
wow.
That's about yeah. Yeah, pretty bad.
Well, if we go down the independent characters road, we could talk about what we bought.
Which
'Cause
in
that
that case,
counts.
I did a lot of hobby too, because I just picked up my Sylvaneth army
yeah.
today.
Yeah. Good. It's a very familiar looking Sylvaneth army you got
Yes,
there.
yes,
Yeah.
it is.
It's almost unused. I mean, oh, poor Ryan.
Made one GT appearance and
Yep.
called it quits.
That's fine. So we should be looking forward to Sylvaneth at some point in the near future, or
Maybe we'll have to see between your Iron Jaws and finish up my Stormcast. It might be a while. I have so many Stormcast models. It's not even. I have about like 50 Liberators that
Wow.
I haven't touched. So
Jeez.
I don't know if I'll go get through those all, but
Yeah.
I want to at least have enough to where I can pretty much do anything, any of the formations, and
Yeah.
put down anything, and just have
Yeah.
the options.
You got rid of your high elves too, didn't you?
Yep, got rid of my high elves.
Ooh.
We'll have to,
It's a painting award winning army.
yeah. I mean, I don't think I touched it after the first Lost Souls we did back in. What was that? Or I did that alone.
2013?
Probably
Yeah, I
2013.
think it was.
So I mean, I played it for that one, and then I really didn't touch it after that.
Tinkered a little bit with it for end times. Mixed stealth list, didn't you?
No, not really.
Mm.
My mixed army for that list was the Chaos was what I was doing.
Oh. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't.
Oy.
But yeah, I haven't touched them in a couple of years, and I figured I need to make room. I have those. I have the Dark Elves. I have my Chaos Warriors, my Chaos Demons. Jules is Tomb Kings, which is a
now
whole,
growing into
and,
Flesh Eater
and then
Court.
now I picked up Flesh Eater Courts. I was able to pick up some starter sets and combine that with all the Crypt Ghouls and Crypt Horrors I had before, and I was running through it, and I pretty much have a Flesh Eater Courts army as well.
Jeez.
So
Better get to painting.
yeah,
Well, he paints pretty well too, so you guys can
Yeah, that's true.
crank out some nice looking armies together.
yeah. And then the other thing we kind of did for creation is me and Jules recorded a rough cut of a YouTube battle report, because I think that's something that we might want to get into.
Yeah, definitely. I was looking just for Age of Sigmar battle reports, and there's a lot of them, but none of them really grabbed me. I'm not to say anything negative about the people who put them together by any means, but I definitely noticed a difference in quality between the 40K battle report videos and the Age of Sigmar ones.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the 40K one is a lot of those YouTube guys are doing it professionally. That is their job, or that's how they're making a lot of their cash. So they have a lot
Their
of
hobby money comes.
that's
from
how
that.
they have a lot of time to devote to those videos. So
fair
that's the difference. I know I felt the same way about some of the AOS ones I've looked at, and they're not necessarily the best, or they don't necessarily grab me like some of the 40K videos channels do.
enough. Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. I know my favorite is Tabletop Tactics,
Yeah.
and I like his style. I think that's pretty much how we're gonna do ours very similar. I know I was talking to Ryan today, and he was saying he likes the old style, like Once Bitten did, where you put up pictures and then you talk about turn by turn, and or he said he was even liking like the overhead ones. Those are okay. I understand where he was coming from. He was saying those are quick and easy, and he can watch a battle report in 15, 20 minutes, whereas the ones like Tabletop Tactics, those are
Like 2
hour and a half, 2 hours
It's the
long.
whole
I mean,
game. It's watching
each
the
one
game.
has their pluses and minuses. I know the quick ones, you don't have that long. You just sit there and run through it and do it real quick. I know the Tabletop Tactic ones I like because you kind of get invested in the game a little bit more since you're seeing them roll the dice, you're seeing them make the saves. Because when you're watching just like the turn by turn, you don't really see how those dice rolls affect stuff or thinking behind it, or you're like, well, that universe is there. Where did it go?
Right.
But if you're watching the dice rolling and stuff like that, you kind of feel like you're invested. I know I invest in the game because I know when I'm watching, like, I'm always rooting for one of those sides. I know for when I'm watching the other ones, I'm like, okay, like whoever wins. But
yeah, I was definitely invested because I saw one that was like Dark Eldar versus Tau, and I was like, oh, that's probably gonna be horribly one-sided. And the Dark Eldar actually won, and I was like, oh, I actually want to watch this 2-hour long battle report to see what he did to make that happen, because the guy didn't bring a slouch Tau army.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
there was one where it was orcs versus Tau, and it looked like the orcs won. And
damn,
yeah, I was like, sweet. Like I said, I was saying earlier, man, it really made me want to play 40K.
Yeah,
bad. And then I remembered the state that 40K is currently in. I was like, oh, that's right. That's why I don't play.
Let's not do that.
Not nothing against people that enjoy 40K.
Oh, hell no.
If that's your jam, then jam on. But I don't get the thrill from it anymore.
Yeah. So hopefully that'll be a regular thing. I'm hoping to put out. We'll see how that goes. I still haven't run through the editing process yet. I'm pretty confident I can come up with something. So we'll see just how long that takes and combination between everything else I got going on. I'm hoping to at least put out one a month. We'll see how.
That would be cool. Are you going to do a sweet intro like Tabletop?
Oh yeah.
Tactics
Well,
has?
we got to get the whole. I got to get the whole studio ready. We'll probably run it at my house and probably get a. Table,
do like recordings and stuff.
Do recording because I ran through the footage at the games. We did it at the game store. We recorded it.
So there's going to be a lot of
you can listen
noise.
to it and it's fine. But yeah, there's all kinds of background noises, and every once in a while you'll get a cheer from the 40K guys, or you'll get someone screaming something. And it's just kind of a little bit disruptive, and I'll want to record some of those at my house and probably get you and some of the other guys we play with in there and, do the same type of thing, run through the tactics of their armies and showcase them, which means anyone listening to this in this area, paint your armies so we can put them on YouTube.
Yay. Okay.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the cool things too about those is all those armies usually when they play them, they're all painted. They don't want to put unpainted stuff on there. So
oh yeah, definitely.
We need to get Miranda, Wargamer girl. She's right here in Albuquerque to do our bat reps. I don't know if you've ever watched her War Machine bat reps.
No, never.
Okay, so Miranda is Wargamer girl on YouTube.
Okay.
She's right here in Albuquerque, and she does a series of bat reps for War Machine that are just they're professional quality video.
Really?
That's the only thing you can say is it's professional quality. And she admits that she's got a guy who she knows that does pro video and helps her and I think taught her a lot of stuff, but she doesn't put out a video that's crap. It's all high end. So it's really well done.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's Wargamer Girl on YouTube.
yeah, so we'll have to get the table and probably have to buy a fat mat that will match the AOS aesthetic.
Yeah.
And then we got all the terrain that we got for.
And then lighting it. It's got to be
lighting.
so well lit.
Yeah, I mean,
I
there's a lot of
struggle
stuff
with
to
that.
invest in and get in, but I think it might be worth it.
If I can get my demons shifted, that was one of the things I definitely wanted to spend some of the cash on, was getting a couple more fat mats, just so we can have some of the different flavors.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. If anyone has any feedback or what they like, what they don't like about certain battle reports, just hit us up, let us know.
Yeah.
Take it into consideration.
The Realm of Battle, where we're going to talk about everything else today. A couple of games that we've played, and then we're going to meander around a bunch of topics because we don't have any real Realm of Conquest because there was no tournament lately for us to either go to or cover. So, for Realm of Battle, I played a game this Saturday night against my wife and another friend of mine, and it was a teaching game. So, on my side, I set up a whole bunch of Stormcast Eternals and started walking them across the table so that the Skaven that my wife owns and the Chaos that my buddies borrowed, they could learn how to maneuver and how to do things in the game. It actually turned out to be kind of fun. I think they both learned something. I got really irate with my wife for not knowing her spells. But, but these things will happen. So, But yeah, it was a good little teaching, thing just to learn how to. And she wants to go. She's got tickets to LVO, and she wants to actually be reasonably competitive. I mean, she doesn't feel like she's going to win the tournament, but she wants to be able to not
lose 5 games.
Yeah.
Well, maybe lose them, but not be somebody that the other guy didn't want to play, or is dreading playing.
Oh, yeah, that's happened us before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just remembered I got to get my ticket.
Oh,
yeah, I gotta get mine too.
Yeah.
I kind of relied on it's it's Age of Sigmar. It's not going to sell.
Oh, they're selling like hotcakes.
Yeah.
Now that the news that GW is behind it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, grab them. I don't want to go alone with just my wife, please. No. I'm not even going to edit that out. So anyway, James, did you have some games?
Yeah, we had, like I mentioned before, me and Jules did a battle report, so
yeah.
I won't spoil that one in case we do end up posting it up.
Yeah.
Then last week I played Jules again because someone didn't show up to the store to play a game.
Sorry.
Jeez. Boy, we get beat up.
Yeah. Wife had a bachelorette party to go to, so I had to stay home with the baby.
Oh, you were doing fatherly/husbandly things.
Yeah.
Well, that's different.
Stupid life getting in the way.
Because normally you schedule tournaments on birthdays.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well. Oh, well.
So, yeah, we played that one. It was the take and hold scenario.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So.
Oh, is that the one where you each have an objective? And
yeah, if you each have the objective, and if you.
Is it as bad as everyone says it is?
Bad and.
As far as, it's likely going to result in a draw.
Ours was definitely not a draw.
Okay. Oh, boy. Oh, okay. Yeah, you brought the 2 Lantern Bros, huh?
Yeah, but I brought that with the 4 Drakos. But Jules did have the 50 skeleton archers sitting there on his objective, so I thought it was going to be a little tougher to get through, but... No.
4 fulminators go through just about anything.
He for some reason, he was just a little bit... So I had positioned it where I'd put the prosecutors at the 12-inch line, and I had and then I deployed some judicators there too, and I had put the fulminators though behind the lines. So on turn 1, he could, with his 22-inch charge plus an automatic 6, he could, I think, get to them because I had left a little bit of space, but he'd only get maybe 2 snakes into them before the bus went off. But then I had my other unit of Drakos, and I had my Lantern guys all there. So he was going to probably not do that much to them with only the 2 guys, and then the rest of my army would just kind of collapse in on him, especially since I was going to get that the next turn for sure.
Yeah.
With all those dragon breaths and everything. Drakos breaths had 2 mortal wounds apiece. They wouldn't last very long. So I think he was a little bit timid. He kind of moved up, kind of scared. He ran his second unit of snakes down the other flank, and then it was my turn and kind of just charged that first unit of snakes. Pew, 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 pew with all the judicators. Pew, pew, pew with all the fulminator breaths.
Oh, boy.
Took it all off. I think my whole army had charged that unit just to try to slingshot it further into his lines.
Yeah.
Because I got a unit of... I think I got the fulminators in there, the tempesters in there. I had gotten maybe... And then a unit of the prosecutors in there too. So I think the fulminator swung and wiped him out before anyone else went. Wow. So they were done. And then he brought the other unit of snakes over, but by that time I had the double buffs on them. And so...
It's all over but the crying.
Yeah, he did some stuff to them, but by the time they were done, I don't think he had killed any of the fulminators. So, and then it was their turn, and of course I still had all my adjudicators, everything else, and kind of wiped out that second unit of snakes. And then around turn 3, it was just the unit of 50 archers with Cetra and Kalita sitting in the back, and 50 archers kind of evaporate pretty quick against fulminators, especially when you roll those 6s for the dragon claws doing d6 damage apiece.
Yeah, that could be ugly.
I think, and then the prime had come down that turn too, so the prime did 15 wounds to the big unit, and between that and the battle shock and everything else, I mean, they evaporated to like 5 miles or something. And
well, they have no save, right?
Yeah, well, they have a 6-up save.
Oh, do they? Oh.
Against anything, but my whole army has rend, so basically no save. I mean, he did have the death trait where he was saving on 6s. He was able to save some, but not enough. So, yeah, it was over by turn 4. I had my objective, and then by turn 4, I pretty much killed his entire army and had the other objective. So it wasn't that bad.
I was just gonna suggest maybe he take the Casket of Souls, but it's not quite as nasty as it used to be.
No.
I was just looking at it. You need a 3-up to do D3 wounds. It's kind of...
Yeah, I mean, it can jump. It still do its jumping thing. I know he toyed around with it at the beginning, and I kind of liked it. I know.
It's only going to do it once, though. Because
I know when he played me, he used it. He used the
Well, it's not a spell. It's an ability.
It's an ability, yeah.
So...
It just goes off. It's in the... I think it was in the shooting phase.
Shooting phase, I believe, is when he was doing it.
Or maybe it is.
It's in your hero phase. The keeper of the casket can unleash the tortured souls. 20-inch range.
Yeah, so it's just an ability. It's not it's a spell. It's not a thing. It just goes off on a 3-up, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
So you could double them up. Yeah. You could do double casket.
I don't know if that, because mortal wounds is what's going to help take down those Dracoth riders. That's like their biggest.
Yeah, well, they still do mortal wounds on a 5-up with their snake attacks. So they do pump out mortal wounds. I think his dice were really bad that day too.
Oh no!
So that is.
He's still not running him as a unit of 12.
No, maybe not. Well, I'll have to see.
Tell him to try it just once.
I mean, because I played his army against my army. I've totally decimated the Stormcast. Like, I think the only thing that was alive
That's what we want.
Was the prime turn 3. It's just a matter of him, I think, learning to play his army and
for
It's
sure.
not just a push it forward, click and go and win type of thing.
Right. So. I still think 12 snakes is terrifying.
Yeah, who wouldn't?
No, I think it would be, because I think I barely, like I said, well, maybe. So I wiped out.
Because 6 of them is 30 wounds. That's pretty resilient.
Mm-hmm. The only thing is they fall short in the shooting phase.
Yeah.
They really die. That's when you really kill them, because they only have a 5-up against shooting.
Yeah.
Versus they have a 4-up in combat because of their shields.
They have a 3-up against anything that has damage 1.
You know, you're thinking about the Ushopti.
I hate that armor. It's +1 to armor. Whatever.
But yeah, they get +1 in combat, so they're more resilient in combat, but in the shooting phase, when you have as much shooting as I do, they kind of just evaporate. He can't roll enough 6-ups to save it. We'll have to see. I mean, it could be he could change out the Cetra for our normal unnamed hero and go with the death ability and get the 5-up save against all wounds, but then you're losing that +1 to hit and +1 to wound, which I think is...
That helps the archers a lot.
It makes a unit fly, too, which is
good.
He
makes the unit fly. And it's all kinds
he's
of
pretty...
stuff.
Is he pretty choppy? I haven't really looked at Cetra.
Yeah, he's got like 4 or 5 attacks on the charge, Rend 2, damage 2 or 3 apiece, so he's...
that's not bad. That's not bad at all. How many points is he? Like 440 or something?
Yeah, he's pretty expensive.
Is he worth it?
I think so. If you're using him with the snakes, he's definitely worth it to make that unit get a turn 1 charge.
Yeah.
+1. I mean, you're hitting on 2s, you're wounding on 2s.
Yeah.
Doing mortal wounds on a
5+.
Yeah. I mean, that makes them pretty killing. So.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of stuff in the game that can take that kind of punishment.
No, definitely. You kind of have to alpha strike them before they get to you. Otherwise, unless because they do the mortal wounds too. I was going to say that Spirit Host army that Scott had where they ignore rend, and
Yeah, that's...
maybe it'd be a little resilient too, but then you just pour out the mortal wounds onto it, and it...
Yeah, plus, I mean, the riders each have 2 attacks. The snakes have 3, so it's not like they're hurting for attacks.
Yeah.
And the snakes do D3 damage apiece.
Yeah.
So.
Fair enough. Trolls. Too stupid to die.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, you gotta love them. Anyway, I had a couple of questions that came up on Vince Venturella's YouTube channel in the last few weeks that were kind of interesting and got some interesting responses. And I just kind of like to get your guys' thoughts on this. One of my favorite questions was, throughout Age of Sigmar, or Warhammer Fantasy, what is your favorite model kit? And I think we kind of did this during the year in review.
Yeah, but it was for Age of Sigmar. But I did say that the Ma Crusha model is probably my favorite model they've ever done. If I had to really think, that's a good one. That old Archeon model was iconic for so long.
The new Archeon model is
it's pretty stunning. The Arachnarok?
Yeah, that one.
That was like kind of the first time that we saw this huge new model that they were capable of designing. That was pretty amazing when they came out with that. But I think I'm going to have to stick with the Ma Crusha. That model to me is... I know not everybody... There's a lot of people that don't like it. And I know it gets called the Angry Cabbage and stuff like that.
I mean...
But to me, it embodies everything that it's supposed to. It looks raw and brutal and angry and just like the perfect physical representation of destruction.
Mm-hmm.
Is why I like it so much.
Yeah. I think part of the problem with the overall acceptance of that was they shot it at some very terrible angles.
Well, they never gave a back view either,
Yeah.
so you never knew what was going on.
Right, what was behind that big leafy cabbage part?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, literally the first time you look at it, you're like, wow, it's a big orc on top of is that a gourd? Or is that a cabbage? So.
Yeah, well, it was kind of like, is that a wyvern? Is that just like their new idea of a wyvern or whatever?
You kind of couldn't see it from that first little image.
Right.
So you had to really look. So anyway, James, what's yours?
There's so many. It's hard. I mean, when I think about it, though, there's probably only 2 or 3 that come to mind. Still, the Celestin Prime is...
Yeah, he's a pretty fantastic model.
He's probably still my favorite. It's just everything about the new design aesthetic for the Stormcast is pretty sweet.
Yeah. He's one of those models that is like a selling point. Like if you showed that to somebody, like if they were kind of hemming and hawing about stuff, and you're like, well, do you kind of like the Stormcast Eternals? Check this dude out.
Yeah, I think he's what actually. Before on the Stormcast, I was kind of like, yeah, they're cool.
Yeah.
And then I think when I saw him, I was like,
there you go.
There you go. I mean, because that's what I started off with was with Bretonnians, so I kind of like that whole knight in armor kind of look.
Yeah.
I have a thing for angels too, so he's kind of the best of both worlds for me.
Yeah, he hits both of those.
I clown on Stormcast Eternals and stuff, but they visually are one of my favorite armies. They're awesome. Mm-hmm. They're super cool looking, and their fluff is great. And I just half our gaming group plays Stormcast Eternals, so it's like after a while I'm like, I don't want to play this game.
Don't worry, the other half will be playing Orcs soon because they're instant win.
So
sorry.
Yeah, he's one of them, and probably the other one, like you said, was the old Archeon model.
Yeah,
that thing. And I think I've seen all kinds of conversions of him. So I mean, he's one of those iconic models, I think. And I know I had really fun painting him up when I had him. And then the other one would probably be the Skull Crushers when they came out. Those are. I remember looking at those and wanting those like right away. I was like, those are freaking amazing.
You, Bill?
I know. Last time I said it was Archeon, but after working on and trying to paint the Celestin Prime, he is quickly becoming. But until I build Archeon and start slapping paint on him, I still think I have to go with Archeon, the new Archeon.
Yeah,
it's just so impressive.
Oh, the Star Drake, the Stormcast Eternal Star Drake kit.
That's gorgeous.
That to me is like the perfect dragon.
Yeah, except for his like weird neck thing that he's got going on.
Yeah.
That's not the only thing that.
But all the other previous dragons are like really thin and kind of weedy, and
this one looks like a
imposing.
beefy
Yeah,
giant,
like he's pretty scary. The non-Forge World, because some of the Forge World stuff was really good, like the Magma Dragon and whatnot. Oh, speaking of which, there was the Forge World Age of Sigmar Open Day. Did you guys see?
Yeah, the corn
dragon thing. Holy cow!
How did we miss that?
Right, I totally spaced. So I guess we can just talk about it now. Whatever.
Sure, let's do that now.
So yeah, this gargantuan work in progress, corn drake dragon. Just man, that thing is like the size of a I don't know.
A Star Drake?
No, it's much larger.
Is it bigger?
It is
that.
much larger.
It makes the Dread Saurian look small.
Yeah.
And that Dread Saurian is like 14 inches across.
Is that a Dread Saurian over there?
Yeah, that's a Dread Saurian.
God, killing me.
Told you, I'm the collector.
Yeah. Anyway, there was also some Famir character stuff. Make Mead very happy.
Yep.
He has an entire line of the old original Famir that he uses as ogres right now.
Yeah.
So he can actually play a Famir army once again, which is cool. There was some kind of corn warrior. I don't know if he was on the base of the dragon or what, but he looked pretty cool. I'm trying to think of what else there was. I think there was like another character model in there. Something.
All I know is that I saw that dragon. And I was just like, okay, well, that's game over.
Yeah.
So.
I was talking with Eric, the guy who ran our Age of Sigmar event at Slobberknocker, about that model, and he was concerned that it's going to overshadow Archeon rules-wise, you know, because it's going to be bigger, it looks like, and, you know, in order to sell it, it's going to have to be kind of scary. And Forge World has a funny way of, you know, you either get magma dragons and morn ghouls, or you get squig hoppas, or whatever.
The goblin
squig gobbas, squig gobba garbage model. Cool model, garbage rule. So, you know, what if it is something that kind of is nastier than the guy who
owns it? Runs it.
Yeah, has it pick up its mail for him. So
I kind of think that, and you know, this was in the back of my head when I first saw. This is probably almost like an acid test of how things are going to go. If they make that thing on its own pretty darn good, but amazing if it's in an army with Archeon, then they'll have the selling point that they want, I think.
Yeah.
So you have to make it good on its own so that you're not forced to buy Archeon also. But if you have some sort of benefit to being in the same force with Archeon,
just like Varangard.
Yeah.
The Varangard are really good alone,
really good.
But they get that much better having Archeon.
And I think that's the whole kind of aesthetic they're going for with that, you know, that ever-chosen 3-unit book. I think they'll add that to that sort of idea, where it's good on its own. You can bring it, and it's going to be something to be reckoned with. But you bring it with Archeon and just delete.
I just have to say I'm super excited that Forge World is finally hammering out not 30K stuff.
Well, I mean, they did that big Korvaroth or whatever it was.
Yeah. But I was hoping that they would keep the ball rolling, because it seemed like that was like their big... Okay, we're going to do Age of Sigmar, and then the waters kind of went still for a bit. And
that was a leftover too, right? That was supposed to be the Kadai Destroyer or something.
Yeah, it seemed like something like that.
So they were just trying to get it out, just so they wouldn't lose all the work they had in it.
They actually have quite a few models that are no longer available, unfortunately. There's rules for them, which is cool for the people who did buy them. But, you know, it's really hard to even find some of the stuff. So
we could always start a rumor that says Forge World is going to get to do one of the Stormcast chambers, and so that's coming.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I talked to a guy in a red shirt who told me that he talked to a guy in a black shirt.
Yeah.
With their powers combined, they created a different colored shirt. So it's totally legit. And Forge World is making an entire resin line of
Enhanced Stormcast.
enhanced. Yeah. So instead of
Gene enhanced. Whoa.
oh, there you go.
I'm sorry.
And they'll be the first ones to fall to chaos. Yeah, whatever.
I'm sorry.
Let's not even entertain that garbage. Don't even start your Slaanesh. How your Stormcasts are already painted in Slaanesh colors, so that you can just convert right over. Glue an extra skull to them.
Do some claws on it.
Yeah, yeah. Some awful lobster claws.
Another arm so that the
Some
bow
horns or
gets
something.
yeah.
I'll be good to go.
Ugh,
just add an arm so the bow gets 2 shots per turn.
awful. If there's anybody from Games Workshop listening, do not
Yes.
pull a Horus Heresy
Don't
with
do
Stormcast.
Chaos
please.
Stormcast ever.
Please let Chaos have their own flavor.
Yes.
Anyways, so yeah, we were talking about our favorite
Model.
kits
Yeah.
and model. I think an honorable mention for me as well would be the new treatment kit, especially the Durthu variant.
Yeah.
I definitely felt a pull to do. Well, back then when it came out, it was a Wood Elf Army forum. That compared to the old Treeman in Treekin models, now you have the Kurnoth Hunters and the Treeman Ancient model.
And you got to throw an honorable mention to the new Alariel.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's just wow.
Yeah, I have to say that with Nagash and then Archeon and then Gordrak and the Prime and the Drake and now Alariel, it definitely has me excited to see what kind of
What comes next?
centerpiece models keep coming out for these armies for sure. But I don't know what's the next question.
Well, the next one that came up on Vince's site was metal or plastic.
I don't even think this is a question.
Yeah, fine cast all the way.
That's what I was going to go with. But anyway, James, you want to share?
It's plastic all the way for me. I can't even bother with metal models. I know it's metal. I just not even gonna entertain the idea of even buying it or putting it together or painting it or anything like that. I mean, I was done with it when I did my Dark Elf army in 8th edition. I mean, I think that specifically the models I got for that were specifically no metal models.
Yeah. Do they do metal anymore, or is everything that was metal now fine cast? So
everything that's metal is now fine cast.
so
and
all
they're
the Beast
starting
Claw
to phase
Raider stuff, the
that out.
Saber Tusk, and the
Yeah,
Yetis are
yeah,
all fine cast.
Chad had his stuff, and those are all fine cast in that box.
Because I was entertaining the idea of a Warherd army, because now you can literally do an all Minotaur army because the regular guys are battle line if that's all you take. But the problem is the Doom Bowl is a huge chunk of metal. So I don't know if he's temporarily out of stock right now anyways, but I don't know if they're going to do a fine cast version. I don't know if I would want to buy a fine cast version of a model that big anyways. No. I know a lot of people have had good results with fine cast. I know a lot of people have had terrible results with fine cast.
I've always had good results with it. I mean, I've never had any real problems with it.
I don't know. I'm not really down with it anymore. I've had mixed results with fine cast, so I think I'd rather just wait.
Yeah, because it's coming. Yeah, it will come. So I think we settled the metal versus plastic debate.
Yeah, I'm a metal guy. I'm old school, damn punk kids. No,
well, I mean, they did do some amazing stuff with metal in the day.
Sure,
but it's not that day.
No,
so turn the page.
That day is since passed. And I get that doing plastic injection molds and stuff is expensive, much more expensive, blah blah blah. But part of me wants to tell some of these other miniatures companies, it's like, you guys need to kind of, if you want to keep up, we have a pretty big Infinity group here in town, and I see the models and I see them play on their gorgeous tables and all this stuff, and part of me is like, oh, maybe I check that out. And then I saw that not only are there metal models, but like the antennas on their heads are separate pieces. You can't even pin and stuff. And it's just like, come on, who designs this stuff?
Well, you can even go to Privateer Press, War Machine. I mean, they are the other manufacturer in the hobby, big manufacturer, and you look at the difference between what they're putting out and what GW is putting out.
Oh, yeah.
They're not even in the same league.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 10 years behind. And I mean, literally, War Machine people freak out when they get a model that has texture on it. It's
there is no one else that makes plastic kits like Games Workshop.
No, not even close.
There's other companies that make beautifully detailed miniatures like them, like Mersha and Titan Forge has some really good stuff, but that's all resin.
Yep,
totally different thing, and that stuff is a pain to deal with too. I mean, there's a significant difference between buying a Games Workshop big kit and a Forge World big kit.
Oh yeah,
you kind of need to know what you're doing when you buy Forge World stuff, or Mersha or these other companies that do their stuff with resin. So but if you can get plastic,
boy, that's the way.
Get that delicious plastic.
Mm-hmm.
So next on the list.
Well, the last two questions I'm going to kind of fold into one.
Okay.
Because they kind of have the same theme to them. And these were not from Vince Venturella. These are things that I saw pop up on different forums. But the first question is the General's Handbook going to kill Age of Sigmar? And I'm not joking. I'm not saying, they're going to go under. There's a real undercurrent of people that believe that the General's Handbook and the point system is going to kill the game that we played for the last year. And concurrent to that question is, are the last 3 battle tomes that have come out going to break the game, or is that the new standard for the game? So, thoughts?
I have some.
Go for it.
Well, it's kind of along those lines, but not necessarily. I was thinking about this the other day because I was listening to, I believe, the Long War, and one of them was talking about going to an ITC event in California, and it kind of reminded me of the stuff you see at ETC with tuna cans for chariots and stuff. I guess people were proxying stuff pretty badly. Stuff wasn't painted. And it was just like that super ultra competitive environment. I know 40K is kind of like that. I know a lot of the big 40K groups or influencers are pushing AOS. You got Frontline Gaming pushing it. Yeah. You got Long War pushing it. You got some of the other guys pushing this. So it's a hobby that, I want to be welcoming to other groups of people, I'd be like, oh, we don't want those 40K players here. It's nothing like that. No. But I do look at the 40K scene and kind of worry that's not the kind of environment that I necessarily want to be in. That's not what I want my AOS
to become.
Experience to become. Exactly. I mean, I'm all for competitive gaming. When I play, I'm trying to win. I'm playing to win. So I'm all for that, but I just don't like the whole. It's all about, especially with Frontline pushing, the ITC ranking and stuff. Yeah. I'm not sure what kind of characters that's going to bring into or what kind of environment that's going to push towards events. I know for fantasy, a lot of the fantasy people were more hobby oriented. A lot of our tournaments have sportsmanship. They have painting. It's all part of it. That's kind of because we're all from a older school of thinking, and when painting and stuff was part of the hobby, and that was part of your score for the tournament. I know there's a lot of pushback for soft scores in 40K.
Yeah. Well, there was the Masters push for 8th edition towards the end, to have that more competitive aspect of fantasy for sure. But I know that on Twitter and stuff, this was brought up as far as, is this style of play going to ruin what we've interpreted Age of Sigmar to be for the last year. And my answer is tournaments are going to dictate what it is. I shouldn't say tournaments. Players will dictate what they want. So, if you take like the UK for example, they have so many people that play. They can. I literally think that the next 10 weeks has an event every weekend over there currently. So, in an environment like that, you can afford to have multiple styles of tournaments. So you can run hyper competitive, you can run more narrative, you can run things that don't require painting and are a little more lax on that stuff. You can do things that everything has to be painted to a fairly decent standard to even be put on the table. Yep. Over here in the States, it's going to be a little different because, the country's so large and the player base is so spread out that some events, like Adepticon and even, things like the LVO and anything with the ITC I think will help it grow to an extent.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be, if tournaments are doing this really lax thing where people can just bring garbage-looking armies, then the people that don't want to deal with that aren't going to show up anymore, and the tournaments likely won't grow. They'll hit kind of a soft cap, and it's up to the TOs to create a flavor, a variety of tournaments. Yeah. That's why here we're going to do, like I said, in March, we're going to do a more narrative-driven event because I want to appeal to that. I know we have some guys in our group that they'll come to the GT-style things just because they want to be a part of the group and the scene and stuff like that. But they don't enjoy that style. They don't want to play 3 months of hyper-competitive practice games beforehand and stuff. So they'll really enjoy the narrative. That's all you want to do, James, is the crazy bash facing, or face bashing. But the flip side to that is there's guys that aren't really keen on telling it. I win. That's the story I want to tell because I win.
I beat your face.
Yeah, and so that's why we want to do the GT thing. And this is a very small pool of players that we're going to have access to currently. Hopefully, it grows, and we certainly want to include the ITC format just to
generate interest.
Well, to generate interest and to kind of be on the same page. The ITC it feels more of like a West Coast thing because that's where Reese and Frankie are obviously they're from California,
San Diego.
Yeah, so it kind of has that feel, and and New Mexico is a part of the
desert
western
wasteland.
The desert part of that western thing as well. So I want to appeal to the people around here, but as far as is the General's Handbook, to answer your question, is the General's Handbook going to kill Age of Sigmar? As far as I don't know, it's such a loaded question.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's definitely a juicy topic, and I don't want to get. I will not get doom and gloom about it for sure.
No.
Is it going to potentially draw back some of the clown shoes that we got rid of when Age of Sigmar dropped? To some extent, yes, but I think as long as the Ninth Age and Kings of War and just general Games Workshop hate exists, a lot of those guys are gonna fluff their neckbeards and stay away.
Staying away,
but it definitely is going to ramp up that competitive element for sure. I guess my concern is that hopefully it doesn't get stale.
Well, see, now here's my thoughts on the whole thing. I truly don't think the General's Handbook can kill AOS, simply because they took great pains to make sure that everything else was presented in that book. But then the other, question about the battle tomes and where's the game going and all this stuff, I think it's very, very telling that GW has announced a presence at LVO, a presence at Adepticon, and I think you said they were at Nova Open also, right?
Yeah, you can win the Archeon model that Duncan
painted
as a charity raffle.
Charity raffle. That's a
Open.
beautiful thing, but there's an undercurrent there, especially like at the LVO. Now, I'm not saying that this was some, cooked up backroom deal, but if you're Games Workshop and you're trying to hawk this game that has different ways to play, and you're trying to downplay the tournament play, and the number one in your face tournament guy says, oh, I'm going to be running Age of Sigmar at my really big tournament, what do? You call them up and you say, hey, we'd like to be a part of that and we'd like to run it for you. And that's what they did. So I think they're going to take control of that aspect of it and not let it go over the edge. I think they saw what happened when the other two game systems went over the edge into tournament play. And that's why they hate it so much. So I think they're going to control it.
Yeah, they can keep a rein on it. Tell you, I mean, they can take a tight control of it like Wizards does with Magic, and they can dictate how it goes, how those tournaments are going to do. If they take a more active role in it, they could, say, you will have to paint your armies, you will have to have this, you will have to have that. When you score it, they can lead by example and have. I think they are leading by example because I think
that's it.
In one of the tournament, if you get like a painting nomination or something, you get like a major victory worth of points for your battle score.
Right.
So they're kind of already doing that. They're already emphasizing hobby is important, painting is important, all this other stuff is important.
Yep.
So are you saying that Games Workshop is running the Age of Sigmar event at LVO?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
They are.
The narrative and the GT portion, they are running it.
They're coming out.
Oh, man.
Get your ticket, damn it.
Yeah, I know. I definitely got to get on that. That's cool. Now, to get to your second part of your loaded question, as far as the three new books, are they overpowered or?
No, I don't want to say overpowered.
Well, okay. What was the original question?
The question is are they? I think I said overpowered. Are they breaking the game? Is the power level in those, for instance, is 1,000 points of Sylvaneth or 1,000 points of those vile orcs that aren't Iron Jaws?
Bone Splitters.
Is 1,000 points of them qualitatively better than, say, 1,000 points of Stormcast or 1,000 points of Tomb Kings? And are they defining sort of a new power base with these books and we're going to keep seeing these come out? Or are they just saying that these things needed a bump? They're not getting any more models, they're not getting any more stuff, so they have to have some power built in order to run a allegiance of just Bone Splitters. You have to have some reason to want to play them.
So, I have to admit that when Sylvaneth was the first, and when I listened to like the Facehammer coverage of the new book, I thought, holy cow, these guys are a cut above the rest. And I think a lot of people felt that way until the General's Handbook came out, and we got that style of stuff for everyone else, basically.
Yeah.
Didn't get a lore specific to everyone else, but we got battle traits and command traits and artifacts. And I'm pretty sure I'm on the record as saying that probably something negative about how Iron Jaws are not going to be competitive against, the newer stuff or Fire Slayers,
right.
or I still hold out against Fire Slayers. I don't think they're going to cut it, but I think the General's Handbook evened everything out.
It levels the playing field.
Definitely. Yeah. And I have to say, looking at like the Beastclaw Raiders, they don't lose anything by not being pure Beastclaw Raiders and just going with destruction. They're still just fine. I think Bone Splitters, are definitely the same way. They can incorporate some Iron Jaws models or an Ragnarok or some Moon Clan artillery or something like that.
And they'll really shine when they do that because the things they don't have is provided by those, so
yeah,
that's when you get into a great army.
They do lose that lore for sure. And that lore is pretty tasty. But, if you look at their battle trait, the ability to like get bonuses for killing monsters and stuff, if your opponent doesn't have monsters,
right,
that's a situational thing. Whereas in the battle trait for just destruction, being able to move if you're within range of a character is just always amazing.
Yeah.
So I don't think that those 3 books set a whole new power level. I guess in a way you could say they did by unlocking these battle traits and command traits and artifacts and spell lores and stuff. But everybody has them. So everybody's already instantly at that playing level.
Right.
Now, that doesn't stop them from releasing a new battle tome. Say they could come out with something for the elves, in like 3 months. That's just like, holy cow. Yeah, if I take an all, geez, Phoenix. I don't even know. There's like 16 different elf factions now, but
Arcane College.
Yeah, if I just take like all Phoenix stuff, like the Phoenix Guard with
Phoenix
dudes,
Temple,
right? And they add like another unit or 2, and they just make their stuff like if it dies on a 4-up, it all comes back. And obviously, yes, in theory they could jump the shark, as it were, but I don't think that's going to be the issue. Definitely. Because I think they got a lot of more playtesting going on there. They're reaching out to the community a lot more.
And that's the other thing too is they're getting all this feedback that they either didn't get before, they didn't pay attention to, didn't care about. So I don't think we'll see it swing out of balance. Like I was bringing up in the last show about how you can't really play Seraphon in a matched play list.
Literally unplayable.
But the thing is, if you don't play a matched points game, they're still, I think, overpowered with the ability to summon out the wazoo and place, and they're Stormcast accelerated.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're 2 ends of the spectrum. Without match play rolls, they're amazing.
Yeah.
With match play rules, I don't, there's just so much stuff that stomps them in the face.
Well, again, let's play games before.
Agreed.
I don't think they suffer from the Nagash syndrome as much as you may feel, but the other, so what'd you say? The 3 books?
Yeah.
Oh, so the other point that I wanted to make that we talked about briefly before we started recording was that we, in a way, we need to get away from the mentality of thinking about these as individual little armies. That Sylvaneth, you can play all Sylvaneth, but there's absolutely nothing stopping you from just playing Order and taking a Tree Lord with some elves, with a dwarf cannon, and a Lord Croak.
Yeah.
Behind, I mean, you can just
there's a War Scroll battalion that has Sylvaneth and Stormcast in it.
Right. So, or the Beastclaw Raiders and Gorgon.
Beastclaw, so it's designed that way. Exactly.
So don't pigeonhole yourself into thinking that, because I find that's the first thing I do sometimes is I was thinking about, I did think briefly about a Bone Splitters army, and I'm like, man, I got to buy box after box after box of Bone Splitters to make it work. And it's like, well, hold on, I got a ton of other destruction. What if I just incorporated little bits of it, or even with my Iron Jaws about putting little bits of Moon Clan in with them, or just, whatever.
I know. The more I read about the Seraphon, the more I realize that even just 2 not fulminators, but 2 concussors running with the salamanders is about an ugly thing to see. It's going to be interesting. Yeah. Because the salamanders are going to go in there first and do all their nasties to you. And then the concussors are going to come in and just beat your face. Even your orc brutes would be hard pressed.
Well,
because they can take a lot of damage, but trust me, they'll eat dirt.
Yeah. So part of me kind of envies the new player base that are getting in on Age of Sigmar, because they don't come in with these preconceived notions of the last 30 years of Warhammer. Of no, I'm playing dwarves, so I can't play.
Yeah.
I have to think as a dwarf player, and I that's something I keep looking at Duarden. And I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna run an all Duarden army, and I even so much so that their artillery is now part of the Ironweld arsenal. And I was like, well, that just means I can't have artillery in a dwarf army anymore.
Wrong.
No, it doesn't work that way anymore. You have to get out of that mentality, and it's hard. It's been ingrained in my head for 20 years now. So
I still have it from 40K. I'm brand new to fantasy, and I still think about it as, if you're going to build something, you build it out of one codex, period.
Yeah.
And then you start reading and you go, oh, you know what?
Well, 40K has been open to it a little bit, obviously a little longer with the Allies.
Yeah.
Formations and
things like that. But
and the Allies thing was huge.
Yeah.
Except for the big mistakes, but So Necrons and Blood Angels, dude.
How about Tau and Eldar?
Yeah. So, but anyway, neither here nor there.
Right. That I would stress that to people. If you have that mentality, just stop and
take a bigger look.
Yeah, and realize that you play order, not just Seraphon or Wanderers or what. You can slot in other things and it works.
Yeah.
Or you play death, which means you can incorporate little bits of Tomb King, older Tomb King stuff, or whatever you need to do, and or if it just looks cool.
Well, really, Death is the alliance that has to rely the most on using something from everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
it's so tiny.
Look at that book; it's tiny.
Yeah,
but individually, each one of those armies stands up pretty well on its own. But you start bringing in the different stuff from different Death factions, it could get downright ugly. They could be, just imagine all those guys running around with no wounds, and right behind them is a whole bunch or no rend, and behind them is a whole bunch of snakes getting ready to finish you off.
Yeah. We kind of saw that at the Alliance tournament with the champ list again. Running the Chronoth Hunters, the Glade Guard, the Hurricanums.
Yeah, don't say his name.
Yeah.
You say it 3 times, it'll appear. So, well, that was it's just taking a strength of ranged combat and just compounding it until it's just at a disgusting level that, at the Soberknocker, I played against 1 Hurricanum, and every time Scott rolled for that thing, and my beehole puckered up a little bit, because I knew just potentially a whole bunch of mortal wounds was coming right at me, so.
In your face.
Yeah. So 3 of them is not fun. Not fun.
Scary.
So I would not stress about the General's Handbook having too much of a negative impact, unless I think the only way it would have a lasting negative impact is if tournament organizers get lazy.
Yeah.
And tournament organizers will only get lazy if players allow them to.
Yeah.
Because you vote with your dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I can tell you as somebody who runs, tiny events, that I'm always looking for feedback and input and stuff. And I assure you, the guys that run the bigger ones, the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, a lot of times you'll hear those guys say, I ran like a 60-player event and got no feedback.
I know. That's just... Whenever I go to an event, I try to email or at least do whatever they have for support, just so that he has something to think about, Yeah.
Or,
positive or negative.
People were saying it was a good event. Like, okay, well, is there still stuff that I can improve on? Still nothing.
And that's it. Is so many people. I don't want to offend the guy, or I know he was trying really hard, but the point is, he wants to do a better event.
Yeah, because I want more. I want you to come back, and I want you to bring your friends.
Didn't work.
Yeah.
Or the format was bad.
Yeah, or you won your own event. All right.
Well, I don't want to go there, but I didn't get a feedback sheet, so I really
I
wasn't able
know.
to say anything.
Maybe there was a reason I didn't put a feedback sheet. The whole thing was rigged.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Anyways,
I think we beat that to death. Did
Yeah.
we?
Yeah. But I guess it'll be up to, like you said, the TOs to
yeah.
try to make that the game that we want it to be.
Yeah. And to a much smaller extent, if you're not a tournament player and you really just play like a local shop, and you're afraid that people are going to come in that are going to abuse it or make it like the type of game you don't necessarily want to play or something, then that just comes down to you having that social contract, that discussion.
Yeah.
And just talking, and saying like, look, I don't necessarily want to play this crazy ramped up James level Warhammer.
Well, and one of the nice things is, and I've always found this, you can have a guy that wants to get prepped for a tournament, and I want to try this 2,000 point Blood Angels list. Okay, well, I'm just going to play whatever army I brought. I'm not going to look at the point. You beat me up. You do what you want. Because a lot of times all you're trying to do is figure out how things work together and will this work with this. So even in Age of Sigmar, it's going to be the same thing. If he wants to practice his 2,000 point Stormcast list against me who just wants a friendly game, okay, I'm going to put out what I have. Yes, you can go ahead and beat my face, but let's put a scenario down there that makes it challenging for you.
Yeah.
And I'll play my game and you test your list. So we can both do what we want in the same game.
Right. Yeah, play the game you want to play.
Yep.
Make it the game you want to play. Don't let...
I think sometimes people forget that.
Yeah. Don't let one book dictate in your mind how it has to be.
Right.
Because you still ultimately are the ones who dictate the game you want to play.
Yeah, and be upfront. Hey, I've got this beat face army. I want to try it out on your orcs because they're lame. So, yeah. I'm sorry. Is that still more sour grapes? Yeah. So, shall we end it here?
So we actually got some feedback. We got an email.
Was it good?
Yeah.
Okay, otherwise.
From, well, he asked a question. It's from Matt. He says, "Hi. I listened to your podcast with episode 4 for the first time. I enjoyed it and will listen to future episodes. Sweet. You mentioned that you plan to have round bases required at your tournament next year. I live on the East Coast and will not attend, but I am curious as to why you will have this requirement. I never played Warhammer Fantasy, but most of my Age of Sigmar units are on square bases. I'm not going to rebase them. Models do look better on rounds, but I find that they are easier to play with on squares. What is your reasoning behind wanting all round bases? Thanks, Matthew." So,
It's a totalitarian state, and since we get to make the rules,
yeah.
No.
No. So, as I said, for all my events that will be for next year, everything is going to have to be repainted, and everything will need to be on round bases. So the painting requirement is because the vast majority of our group will not paint armies.
Yeah.
We play with James's wonderfully painted armies and then a bunch of gray plastic. And
yeah,
the only way that's going to change is to force it.
Again, defining the kind of game that you want.
Yes. So as...
There's another way, too. You could pay James to paint your
Hey,
army.
I don't care how it gets done. It's one of those things that kind of needs to get done. And the thing is the more people who paint, it will motivate others to paint.
Yeah,
Right.
I know even Youngblood was there at the game store this last week.
Actually painting.
Actually painting.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to get it done for the event.
And I know that I'm not going to paint. I would love to, but I just don't really have the time to be doing that kind of stuff. So I find a way to get my armies painted, which is James.
Yes,
That's fine. As long as I can play with painted army.
Right.
So that's paint. The round bases thing, that is the direction that Age of Sigmar is going. This is going to be this is an entirely round base game. Square bases are a thing of the past.
The GW does not do square bases anymore, period.
Right. So as far as why I'm going to make that mandatory is that's just the aesthetic that the game is moving towards. So if, you know, a year or two from now and everybody has these new armies and they're all on rounds, and then you got one guy that shows up and half his army's on rounds, half of it's on squares, it is not the end of the world to have that. It's just that it's going to be not as aesthetically pleasing to look at on the table. And that might make me sound like a snob or something like that. I don't care. I want a certain look on the table, you know, and that look is...
Yeah, we're spending a lot of time and money for nice terrain, nice mats.
Exactly. And I don't want that detracted by somebody who just doesn't want to have to rebase their armies.
So let me ask you,
if you have an older army that's on squares and you don't want to rebase it, well, it's a great time to start a new army. There's a lot of great new ways to start new armies.
Way new toys, yeah.
The other reason too, it's kind of a little bit picky, but if you're on the smaller square bases, there is a gaming advantage. To that too. I know Clash in one of the later versions, I think they penalize you certain points for everything that was on squares or something like that.
Yeah, it is much easier to compact guys, especially with reach too.
Mm-hmm.
If they're on 25 mil squares, you can get a bajillion attacks in because it's just easier to fit the dudes in with squares. It's much more organized and uniform. So there is that gaming.
Plus, the squares were smaller than the rounds, because I think everything that was on a 20 millimeter square is now going to a 25 millimeter round. Yeah. Plus, it makes measuring weird when you're moving it, because you're measuring from a certain point on the base. You know, how you land up, you could rotate it and get the little...
Yeah, do you measure from the corner or the flat?
It just creates more issues than it's worth, I think, too.
And I know that GW has said that don't worry about bases, stack your dudes on top of each other, make a pile of models on Archeon's base in order to swing it, and blah, blah, blah. That's because they're moving their entire game to round bases. But I can promise you when Age of Sigmar 2.0 drops or whatever.
Or General's Handbook 2.0, yeah.
When that comes out, they're going to make a push that everything has to be on the models they're provided with. And by that point, everything will be on rounds.
Yep.
So all your square bases won't work anymore. And I don't be sitting there crying about how, well, it was fine, then why can't I do it now? Blah, blah, no, you've kind of had time to get your army redone.
Yeah, I think that was a hangover from them trying to be inclusive of everyone at the point. They don't want to say... Yeah. They don't want to, exclude people that had square bases at the time.
Well, they already pissed off 90% of the Warhammer world. You didn't want to get that last 10%.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was just, like I said, a hangover, so...
Now, all this being said, if you don't plan on going to events, or you don't care what things look like at your store, or even the events around you don't care, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You can... I'm not saying that everyone has to move to rounds by any means. The question is why am I requiring it for my events? And that's because for my events, I want a uniformed look. But if square bases are your jam where you are and nobody really has a problem with that, then that's fine. I still see on the Age of Sigmar fan groups on Facebook, people post stuff on square bases, and part of me is like, oh, but it's like, well, maybe that's what they do there. That's fine.
But then you can look at all those companies that have the round MDF bases with the squares cut out of them. Yeah. That you convert your square bases instantly into round bases.
Yeah, actually, I saw a pretty nice Death Army. I think I saw on Twitter the other day that they had done that. They had done. They were all on square bases, but then they had the MDF cutouts that they put on, and it still looked pretty sweet to me.
Yeah, I would suggest that especially for people who have an older army that is still fine with Age of Sigmar, but you also are interested in playing things like the Ninth Age or Kings of War. Is do something where put your stuff on rounds, but make movement trays where they're on squares as well. I mean, people were doing it with demons for the longest time, so that they could switch them back between 40K and fantasy.
Yeah, it's totally doable.
So, and then you got the best of both worlds right there. That would be my suggestion.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we should bring it out on that note.
Sure.
You want to?
Yeah.
Are we done? Have we covered everything?
I think we've covered everything. It's a good rambling episode.
Yeah.
We had a little bit of tournament hangover after Slobberknocker and 2 weeks later Rolling Bad Rumble. So
yeah,
I think we all kind of had a bit of Age of Sigmar mush brain.
Yep.
So thanks to Vince Venturella for
Yeah.
posing those questions to give
There
us
you
a
go.
little bit of content to discuss.
Yeah.
I also want to give a shout out to Tales of Sigmar.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they talked about us on their show.
Yep.
So, I like those guys. It's definitely a good show to listen to. They got great synergy and
Yeah.
and everything. And
Good sound.
yeah.
Unlike us.
So, just check out all the other podcasts. I know we put a list of all the ones we talked about on our show notes.
Yeah.
Bill takes care of that. So, if you're not subscribed to any of those, definitely check them out.
Yep.
'Cause
Everyone has something a little bit different about it, and you'll find the ones you like, and they're awesome.
right. So, all right. Well, on that note, I guess we'll wrap it up. If you have any questions or comments, or want to tell me I have a stupid face for anything I've said, you can hit us up. I'm at Elric Edge on Twitter.
I'm at Bill Castello, Castello.
And I'm at Tursoth.
You can also reach us on our Facebook page at Rolling Bad. You can email us, like Matthew did, at rollingbadpodcast@gmail.com.
Yep, or we have a combined Twitter.
Yeah, combined Twitter account at Rolling Bad.
At Rolling Bad. And also a Instagram account that James, is just
Dominates.
pumping stuff out onto.
I'm embarrassed to put anything on there. I'd be like, wow.
You gotta draw that curve, that bell curve out a little, affect it a little. Can't. If everybody's getting 90s in the class, then that one guy who gets to 70
I can be the guy with the C.
Yeah. Anyways, so I guess hit us up and
iTunes too if they have. You
Yeah,
guys want to
please
leave a
leave us
review?
an
Oh,
iTunes
yeah.
review. We need those
cool.
bad. All right. That's it.
that's it.
Done. In the can. Yep, that does. Sorry about that. The one thing I cannot turn off is the fact that the phone goes to every device in this house. I apologize for that.
It's all right.
Okay, let's continue on.
I'll keep you around for now, Bill.
Once you get rid of these peasants.
Yeah, you're on thin ice.
Yes, I understand.
Yellow
sir.
card.
Yes, sir.